Welcome back into the Silky Mitts podcast here on Penn State Sports Night. I'm Jacob Cheris, Tim Rogers, Chris Lomo, and Jordan Hessian. All three of them could not make it with us today because there's a lot of news going on in the league today. But we do have a very special guest. He's the host of Hockey Night in State College on Com Radio. He does great work there. He's the hockey insider there as well. A New York Rangers fan and the pride of Long Island, Mr. Fifth Year himself, Christopher Hess. I had to throw that in there. I'm sorry.
I can't even get mad at something like that because it's something that, I kind of picture myself like once I first got into Penn State. That was like, how just like on brand would it be if I ended up doing a fifth year? I'm not doing a full fifth year only just for the fall semester. So it's technically a 4.5 year, but the sentiment still remains. But yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk some hockey.
Yep. We're both rocking a reverse retro. I actually just got this. I have a new reverse retro, Nicholas Backstrom, and Bobber is rocking the Artemi Panarin. Oh, that's looking fresh. I don't think the audio picked up, so I don't know if the viewers will see that. So
I'll stand up again. Panarin, bread man. Yeah. All right. Let's talk some hockey.
All right. So before we we're going to be talking about lots of drafts. We're going to talk about the expansion draft that happened yesterday and preview the first round of the NHL draft. But there were some moves today because the roster freeze ended at 1:00. I keep checking Twitter because, who knows, random things could happen while we're recording this. So I think the biggest move of the day was a shocker, and the Canes faced a lot of backlash from this. Alex Nedeljkovic, their supposedly future number one goaltender, going to the Detroit Red Wings for Jonathan Bernier and a third-round pick. Nedeljkovic had a great rookie season. He was a Calder finalist. He was great in the postseason, good in the regular season, and they just couldn't come to an agreement on a contract. He was asking for $3.5 million. The Canes didn't want to give him that much. And you know what? In reading more about what happened and why, it didn't work out, restricted free agents, good restricted free agents, they have more power, I guess, because, they have arbitration rights, and that could lead to some contract conflict, and that's what happened here. And Nedeljkovic did get what he wanted. He signed a 2-year deal with the Detroit Red Wings. So, Chris, what were your initial thoughts on this? And can you see? I think the Red Wings rebuild obviously has taken massive steps. My question, can Nedeljkovic play in front of a, not so strong Red Wings team and play well? Because Bernier was able to do it, and Nedeljkovic has obviously played in front of really good teams down in the minors and now the Hurricanes.
That's a good question. And, quite honestly, I think he definitely has the potential to do so because Nedeljkovic he was great this year. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're not beating around the bush. He was great all year long. And now this is like his real first test. Like, okay, you're going to a team that has one of the most recognizable brands, not just in the hockey world, but your owner is one of the best players to ever play the game. Not owner, a general manager, Steve Yzerman. He's not the owner, general manager. He's the guy. He orchestrated this rebuild. That some of the moves he made in the beginning of the rebuild, Red Wings fans, oh my God, it's like tongue twisters. Red Wings fans were like, yo, what is this guy doing? Like, what is he doing? But now you're starting to see, those moves start to pay off. And now you have your franchise goalie. I'm not going to give him the full franchise tag yet. I'm using those loosely with air quotes. But he's a guy that I think could steal the Red Wings a couple of games. That the biggest thing for them at this point is confidence. Get your confidence up. They didn't play so bad towards the back end of the year. You can tell that they were getting better and better as each game went on. And this was a massive rebuild project. Like, bigger than anyone we've ever seen in quite some time, that it's complete overhaul top to bottom, that your ECHL teams, your AHL team, and your NHL team has to go through this whole transformation. But now they have a guy in net. And no disrespect to Bernier, he was fantastic as well, but he wasn't getting much up. Now you're going to start to get the pipeline flowing a little bit more. You're going to get those new guys in there. There's going to be more growing pains this year, but I think this Red Wings team with Nedeljkovic in net is going to be better, and they're going to surprise some teams next year for sure.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. So that tandem, it's going to be, I think, probably 1A, 1B with Thomas Greiss there. Nedeljkovic, 15, 5, and 3 with a 190 goals against and a .932 save percentage. But it's hard. It was hard to evaluate goalies, especially rookie goalies, this year because there was only 56 games. Can they do that for a full season? That's the big question when you're talking about giving these contracts out to young goalies, because if you give a big contract out to a one-year wonder player, and that doesn't have to be a goalie, then you're stuck with a bad contract, and that contract may be hard to move. So as I was realizing this move made more sense. Disappointing. It was a shocker. I wouldn't have done it because Nedeljkovic, and he may have that bright future down the road, and maybe, hey, listen, Canes ownership, I told you I was worth that $3 million for 2 years, because I think Don Waddle and the Hurricanes manager was going to give him a bridge deal and then see how it goes down the road. But you mentioned Bernier. It's a lot of it's going to depend on what Nedeljkovic. Can Nedeljkovic do what Bernier did in Detroit? Bernier was actually a really, really good goalie in Detroit, and he didn't really get a lot of help. It was a weak team, but it's understandable because they're rebuilding, and this addition obviously takes massive, massive steps. So Bernier was still really good. The Red Wings will be an interesting team to watch, like you said. And they got, Jake Vrana as part of that rebuild. They have a good farm system. Lucas Raymond, I'm really excited to see play. And obviously they still got Larkin. So I like their goaltending situation better now. And the base of a team starts with good goaltending. And so going back to, and also one more thing I want to say, the Canes have so much guys they need to re-sign. Dougie Hamilton, unclear that he may stay in Raleigh because he's due for a big raise. You also got guys like Marty Necas. Svechnikov's going to get a big deal down the road. I think he only has a year left.
And Martinuke's pretty much out already. Jordan Martinuke, they already said, I think a couple of weeks ago, that he won't be coming back. So we'll probably touch on the free agency part of the pod. Where is he going to end up? Because that's a valuable piece that he can play anywhere. He's a third, fourth line guy. He can play literally anywhere. And when he's out there, good luck stopping him.
Yeah, so lots, and even if, since the Canes got rid of them, their future is still very bright. They still got Mrazek there, and Carolina's been searching for a solid goalie for so long, and everyone thought it was going to be Nedeljkovic, and then this happens. But they play a style of hockey where they don't necessarily have to rely on their goaltenders all the time. They play that greasy style, fast style, transition style of hockey, and where they feel that they don't have to rely on their goaltenders as much. Anything else you want to add before I guess we get into the signings then?
Honestly, no, because that was like the biggest deal of the day. And, I think both goalies are going to be extremely successful in their new destinations. And I'm excited to see it unfold.
Yeah, I agree with you. So 2 free agent signings that happened today. One is not confirmed. The other is, you know what? I almost forgot. Shane Gostisbehere was traded to the Arizona Coyotes along with, let me pull it up. I don't remember. It was, I think, a 7th round pick and a 2nd round pick. And I think Arizona has 7 second-round picks. So, and the Flyers, the only thing they got was cap relief, which is good because
that was a horrible contract.
Yeah. Cool. Yep. And Gostisbehere wasn't really getting it done, at least defensively. And this is a Flyers team that desperately needs defense, and the addition of Ryan Ellis should help that. So what were your thoughts on this deal? And I think Chuck Fletcher made the right move.
Oh, absolutely made the right move. I mean, Gostisbehere has just been a liability on the defensive end for the past 2-3 years at this point. He's still relatively young. I think he's hovering the 27, 28 range. He was good when he first came up, but now he's just been a complete liability. And then when he got put on waivers at one point this season, I couldn't help but chuckle because I was just like, this is just a mess that they're dealing with right now. You know, the Flyers, like, it's one of those things where the Flyers are like a sleeping giant that if you poke the bear and they come out angry and they make some moves, you better watch out because they're a force to be reckoned with until they choke in the playoffs. But the point I'm trying to make here is this is good for them, good relief, because now it allows them to maybe make a trade. They dumped Nolan Patrick not too long ago also. So, you know, you're starting to make those smaller moves. And I would not be surprised in the coming weeks if they make a big move. I couldn't tell you what it's going to be, but I just have that, like, that sensation that something's going to happen with them and it's going to really benefit them in the long run.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like, I'm getting text from our other Chris, who is normally on this podcast. He could go off about the Flyers and the Eric Gustafsons and how Gostisbehere was not great in the defense, etc. He sent me a tweet. Elliot Friedman on the Instigators says there's a ton of interest in Sam Reinhart. Some of the same teams that have interest in Eichel have interest in Reinhart, and Philadelphia likes him too. And everyone was speculating Philadelphia is also one of the front runners for Seth Jones, which, by the way, Seth Jones, there was a rumor he's likely going to the Chicago Blackhawks, but there was a rumor that the Hawks might give up Kirby Dach and Alex DeBrincat, which, if you're Stan Bowman, he's done a good job with the rebuild. Do not do that.
What in the what? Why? Why would in a trade for? And this is they would give up Dach and DeBrincat for Jones? Is what you're saying? What?
Yes. Seth Jones is a great player.
Yes, but you are giving up everything. You're giving up your 2 best players. If Chicago did that, that has got to be that would be one of the single dumbest trades that has happened in the game of hockey in the past 15, 20 years, maybe in recent memory, that you're giving up 2 potential franchise guys for a defenseman who's really good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like
you shattered the whole rebuild.
It's like you shatter your whole rebuild. I mean, it's like, it's one thing, like, if you were going to, like, I'm comparing apples to oranges here. Like, if you were going to trade for Connor McDavid, you give up those 2 plus more. It's like, okay, yeah. But for a defenseman of the caliber of Seth Jones, like I said, very good, but not worth that return. You're blowing up your rebuild for a defenseman who's going to be okay, but not, like, outstanding. Like, come on. You can't be doing that.
Yeah. So, but the Flyers, I think they're going to have a bounce back season. I think they'll be just on the bubble. I don't know where to put them in terms of playoff positioning, because can Carter Hart bounce back? I think he can, and I think he still has tons of potential. But the subtraction of Gostisbehere and the addition of Ellis and Provorov, that's going to be a really good first pair. Travis Sanheim, I like. I'm blanking on names here. Justin Braun. He'll, I think, move up. And, Cam York is going to be a legit top 4 defenseman for them this season. And he was excellent in his debut against Washington. I noticed him a ton. So that's also a big plus of getting rid of Ghost. So with that, we were going to talk about some signings. Your New York Rangers, and first of all, this edition in general was fantastic by Chris Drury. Barclay Goodrow, just coming off a Stanley Cup, with the Tampa Bay Lightning, signs a 6-year deal. I forget what is it? What's the AAV?
Getting about $3.65 million a year.
That's perfect for maybe the term a little bit too long for a bottom six forward, but he's a really, really good bottom six forward. And that's definitely something that the Rangers need. They could use some more physicality in that lineup.
Absolutely. They needed physicality. I was talking with a couple of people, leading up to free agency, like some of the notable guys on the market, like a Casey Cizikas, a Blake Coleman, Jordan Martinook, and Barclay Goodrow. And I was telling people, I was like, if the Rangers can land, 2 of the 4 in the offseason, I think the Cizikas ship is starting to sail a little bit, just based on what I'm hearing, that he might take a hometown discount to stay with the Islanders. I saw Toronto was interested also, so I wouldn't bet on that. I think maybe Martinook might be in the equation also. I would not bank on Coleman, so I'm thinking maybe Martinook signs with the Rangers in the coming weeks. Fingers crossed, that would be nice. But what they were able to do with Goodrow, like you'd said, I was a little skeptical on the term and the money. I don't think, I think $3.6 million a year for a bottom six guy is a little bit concerning. It's like, why would you pay that much? But then you look deep down and you watch some of the stuff that he does. He won't wow you in the points category, but he causes so much havoc out in front of the net and is an enforcer out there. He keeps plays alive, and that's what they need. He's so ridiculous on the forecheck that there was the picture of like that thing on Twitter where it was hockey images that precede unfortunate events.
Love that account.
The 3 Islander players converging on him, and they scored. That was the shorthanded goal that gave Tampa Bay the 1-0 win in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Final. And I'm like, that's why the Rangers signed him, to create opportunities like that, so that the other playmakers that are out on the ice, because at any point he could be out there with like Panarin, Lafreniere, Kakko, Kreider, all Zibanejad, all those guys. He will create opportunities out of nothing, and that's why they signed him. And I am so happy they did.
It's going to be interesting to see how Gerard Gallant, because we know what the Rangers have up front. It's the Panarins, it's the Zibanejad, the Stromes, the Goodrows, and I'm blanking on names here. I don't know, but they have a strong top 6 forward group, and luckily they didn't have to give up. And they obviously on the backhand have the Norris Trophy winner in Adam Fox, which I don't think it was close that he was going to win that. So that's Rangers. I really do believe they will be in the playoffs this season. I think because that addition of Gaudreau gives them that last little piece of a playoff team, which is physicality. You want your speed guys, you want your bottom 6 guys. They were kind of missing that. They have pretty good depth scoring. Correct me if I'm wrong there. And just adding a guy like Gaudreau, who can do all the dirty work, is great in the corners. That makes them a playoff team. They have a great defense, and obviously 2 really strong goalies in Shesterkin and Georgiev.
Yep. And then the Rangers line, like just players from top to bottom. You have your top guy of, the Panarins, Zibanejad, and Lafreniere probably, and then you have your Kreider, Strome, who's probably going to be on the chopping block also, and you have Buchnevich on there too, but in all likelihood, Buchnevich and Strome will be either included in a package deal for somebody or traded in separate occasions. And then you have your third line guys of, probably Vitaly Kravtsov, maybe rotating between 2 and 3, unless he's traded, which who the heck knows, honestly. It's so hard to say who's going to be in the 3rd and 4th lines for this Rangers team this upcoming season, but the defense is solid. That Goodrow as a forward is also can play really strong defense also, that he does a little bit of everything. That looking at the team top to bottom, there's no reason why they can't make the playoffs, but that's not here nor there, and we'll touch on that at some other time. But lots of excitement, but don't tell Islander fans that. Don't tell them.
Don't tell Islanders fans that.
Don't tell them because their heads will explode if you tell them that the Rangers are actually going to be decent.
I mean, I think the Islanders and the Rangers.
I don't make rules. I don't make the rules.
I don't make the. And there was also rumors that the Rangers have heavy interest in Evgeny Kuznetsov, which I think he would be a good fit for the style that Gerard Gallant likes to play, like he did in Vegas, which is that rush style, north-south fast hockey. That's why I think him, Gallant, and the Rangers, perfect fit because the Rangers are a fast team. Fast teams like to play up the rush. Gerard Gallant is one of those coaches. And along with Barry Trotz of the New York Islanders, who coached the Capitals and really got the best out of Evgeny Kuznetsov because he was also kind of about that rush style, maybe a bit more structured defensively. But I think if the Capitals are looking to trade Kuznetsov, I think the Rangers are a really good fit. You slide him on your first or second line. I forget who is Zibanejad's not a center, or he is a center.
He is, yes.
Okay, so Kuznetsov would be your second line center with Kreider or
probably Kreider and Kakko.
So, and that's a really good dynamic or fast line.
Kravtsov, who knows? Who knows? Like I said, I know nothing about the line pairings this year because it's all over the place so far.
So yeah, I don't know what your take is on that, but I think, wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded in the next couple of days because, they're sick of the on and off ice antics. But, every hockey fan knows Evgeny Kuznetsov's potential.
Look, Kuznetsov's one of those guys that I think he just needs a change of scenery. That's all it really is. Like, I think it would be best for him and for the Capitals that they already said, like, they're going to trade him. It's just a matter of where at this point. I think it would be a good move to just ship him off. I'm a little bit weary because he does have I think it's $7.5 million.
7.8. Yep.
That's a little concerning that also just like the Rangers are in the market, obviously, for a game-changing top center that would complement Zibanejad, whether Zibanejad's your number one center. They need a number two, whether that be Jack Eichel, which, God help me. Oh, my God. God help me. Oh, boy. If they end up trading for him, I'm so skeptical that I'd have to empty the tank for that. But Kuznetsov would be a good fallback option. But if they strike out on those two, I guess they probably have to go elsewhere for it. But Kuznetsov with the Rangers, I think, would be a good fit. But obviously, I'm still going to be a little bit skeptical on what the Rangers would have to give up for that. I don't think they would have to give up as much for him as they would for Eichel, but it's something definitely to keep an eye on as those two are expected to be dealt within the next couple of days. I guess we'll find out, but at the same time, I'm not going to hold my breath for anything crazy. I'm just going to go with the flow, and if they do something really dumb, I'm going to be pretty upset.
Yep. You were texting me before the pod like, oh, if, the Rangers just you have been warned. Like when I texted you, hey, you want to come on this? You have been warned. I may lose it if the Rangers sign a guy that just broke his neck. You've been warned.
No, literally, like that's literally what scares me about Eichel. And the fact that Buffalo is hiding the medical records. I'm like, what? Why are you guys doing that? Like, at that point, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm done. Screw that. Like, I'm sorry if that was a little bit too much, but it's like, yeah, no, I'm backing away from that. The fact that you're going to be withholding medical records from a team that's interested in basically emptying the tank and sending probably Pavel Buchnevich, Ryan Strome, and a couple of your top prospects like a Zach Jones and a Matthew Robertson over to your dumpster fire of a franchise. Like, no, you can't play nice in the sandbox with us right now. We're done. We're going to send them off to Minnesota where there's even bigger cap problems.
Yeah. And with that, we're at 24 minutes, so we made good time. We're going to talk about the Seattle Kraken expansion draft.
Release the Kraken.
Indeed. And oh my gosh. Okay. I don't know if you were watching like the draft. Well, I mean, the whole hockey world know it because, Twitter. Some of the funniest moments were Marshawn Lynch completely botching Callie Yarncroke's name. That was hilarious. Chris Fowler saying the Carolina Panthers, and then the Hurricanes and Carolina Panthers social media team just got, did you see that?
That was hysterical. And the Panthers started selling T-shirts with like the doodle on it. I'm like, come on. How could you not love this? And Sarah Sivian, Penn State alum Sarah Sivian, who's the Carolina Hurricanes beat writer for The Athletic. Let me see if I can find the tweet, but she was all about this. I think it was something along the lines of, oh, we're doing this again.
Yeah, like, yep, I think I did that. Right, like, oh, this is actually happening right now. So that was awesome. Like, I was on Zoom watch party with some of my friends, and I just started dying when like that happened. And also when Marshawn Lynch just goes, yeah, this is the first pick, right? Oh, he's like looking at Callie Yarncroke saying, yeah, the boy Callie. It's like that SNL skit with Brady Shea and Chance the Rapper. It's exactly like that.
That is an S, a K, and a J, so that's a nope.
Nope. So those were some great moments of the expansion draft. So let's get cracking on this roster. Pardon the terrible pun.
That was awful. But there was good effort.
Yes. And it was just as bad as the Seattle Kraken's forward group because they passed up on so many good players. Max Domi was a big surprise that they didn't go after. Kind of a low-cost player. He's a great player, but he didn't have a great year in Columbus. He could be your number one center if you pick him.
Just looking at this roster, I was like, oh my God. Like, I see what they're trying to do. They have so much, like $28 million in cap space. I see what they were trying to do. But you got to take some risks and, don't play the conservative game in this case that, like, you had Vladimir Tarasenko on the board, for God's sake, and you take Vince Dunn. Listen, I'm not knocking on Vince Dunn. Again, great player and all, but come on now.
You get a free 30-goal scorer.
Come on, man.
Yeah, and Carey Price, big name out there. I was one of those people that said, if I'm Ron Francis, I would take him. I thought maybe I didn't think it was going to happen, but I'm like, hey, it's Carey Price. It's a big hockey name. He's shown that he has plenty left in the tank. That could be your franchise builder
This could have been a blueprint of what Vegas did with Marc-Andre Fleury.
And it's paid off. Besides the cap. Besides the cap.
Yes.
I understand his Carey Price's contract is not good. I understand that. But, it's Carey Price.
Take the risk. Oh my God, you have all this cap space in the world. Why not just go for it? It's like 4th and 3. Go for it. You got nothing to lose. If you don't make it, all right, we'll figure something out later. But come on, man, you gotta go for it here.
But I do like their goaltending tandem. I think Chris Driedger and Vitek Vanacek is a really strong tandem. Driedger, I think, is going to be the number 1, and Vanacek will be the number 2. But I think they'll split time down the road. Both are really solid guys. Driedger had a breakout year with Florida. He was excellent when, Bob wasn't doing so well. Vanacek, he wasn't even supposed to play this year with Washington, and then he steps up and is really consistent. And unfortunately, the Capitals lose him. So that's a good tandem. That's a good start for the Kraken because
that's such a feel-good story for Vanacek. You kind of get thrown into the fire, and you did great with a cup contender this past year, and probably a cup contender next year as well. But now you got a fresh start, and now you're like, now I can make a real big name for myself with a brand new team, and really just make the name Vitek Vanacek known. And I think he's done a good job to do that so far. But now I think the sky's the limit with him. That he showed so much this past year, and I think it's only going to get better for him.
And we talked about, teams, you have to start with your goaltending. So that part is settled. They have good quality goaltending. The defense is also not terrible. I like Jamie Oleksiak. Mark Giordano, he's probably going to be their captain, although I have heard some trade rumors with him, although unlikely now because, he was there. So he's going to be probably the face of the franchise. Even though he's a little older, he's still got some game in him. So that's probably your top pair. Jordan Eberle. Now the forwards, this is where it gets little dusty.
Ugly. Little ugly.
Yeah. First line, it's okay. Jordan Eberle is a good player. Yanni Gourde is a good player. I forget who's playing center. I don't know who their legit number one center is, but that's where you could have picked Max Domi.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But at least you'll have Jonas Donskoy out there too. Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, I like him. I like Jonas Donskoy.
But when you start looking at it from top to bottom, this is where it gets a little bit dicey. Brandon Tannen is probably going to be on the second or third line in all likelihood. And he's good on the left side. And then Jared McCann will be out there too. He might be your second line center, maybe your third. Or he could play wing. He's very flexible. That's he's like a Swiss Army knife. But then after that, what are you going to do? Carson Tworinsky, Mason Appleton, Cole Lind, Nathan Bastian, Devils legend Nathan Bastian. Ugh, jeez. Oh, and also Colin Blackwell. I miss him. So I think that, but yeah, Blackwell is a good depth guy. You know what you're going to get with him. He'll be third, fourth line, whatever it is. But they have no forward depth whatsoever. That there's a clear drop off between who the lines and all the line talent and all that stuff. They're going to have to make some trades later on, but contesting in free agency after this season, something to keep in mind because they do have that $28 million in cap space. They can make some moves.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jared McCann. He could be their number one left wing. I like Jared McCann a lot. He had 32 points in 43 games this year. He's a very solid player. And I also think, Matty Beniers, the projected second overall pick this year out of Michigan, he's likely to slide, maybe play another year at Michigan. He's likely to slide in. It really depends on what he decides to do with whether going back to college or going straight to the NHL. If he decides to go to the NHL, he'll be right in the lineup. Oh, that is for sure because of how weak the forward group is. But I did see that Seattle does have lots of trades in place. So those will be coming soon. Would not surprise me if they make a big splash and get a big name player because they do have to hit that cap minimum. So, that's the other thing. Cap space isn't really a concern right now. Why not take guys with big caps that could rebound? Matt Duchene, not the best contract, still a good player, could rebound. Jeff Skinner, terrible contract, could return to his prime form.
That contract is a nightmare. Oh, God.
And even on the Flyers, they took that guy from the Flyers. You had James Van Riemsdyk and Jacob Voracek. Both those guys are legit top six forwards. So that's where, I think, Ron Francis taking the more conservative approach. But yeah, I am not a fan of this forward group because I'm like, there's no way that this is their final roster. Not a chance.
No chance. If it is, they may not win 25 games this year.
Well, keep in mind, they're in the Pacific Division. The Pacific Division is not very good. So,
okay, 35.
Yeah, they'll be in that mix. They'll be in that kind of mediocre group, I guess, in the Pacific. They won't be last, I don't think. But, they're a big team. I will say that. They do have lots of size with Oleksiak, Tanev, McCann had some speed. So
Larson is a unit of a human being. Adam Larson is a large human.
Hey, he got drafted and it wasn't 1-for-1. It was 1-for-0.
Boom. That's the way to do it.
Oh, that deal with Taylor Hall. It's still, And it's reported that he signed a 4-year, $6 million extension with the Boston Bruins, which right decision there, but it's not officially announced yet. Oh, looking on Twitter, Barclay Goodrow just tweeted 3 minutes ago, LFG, I won't say what that means, at New York Rangers. So he's pumped.
Barclay, what are you trying to say? This is you have me on edge right now. Oh boy.
What do you mean?
Maybe he's just excited that he's a New York Ranger?
Yeah. That's
Oh, I thought you were saying that he knew something that we didn't. And I was
no. He was like, I'm ready. Like, I'm happy to be Ranger.
Let's go. All right. That's what we love to hear. Oh, and
all right, so
that's awesome. Yeah.
I think we talked about, so we're at 35 minutes. So now is the fun part, the 2021 NHL draft. Chris is a college hockey fanatic, and this draft class is going to be so good for college hockey. Chris, the floor is yours.
Oh my God. All right. So first things first. So obviously we know that the Buffalo Sabres, the Seattle Kraken have the picks 1 and 2 respectively. 2 Michigan Wolverines out of the Big Ten Conference are going to likely be the number 1 and number 2 picks. Those being Owen Power from Mississauga, Ontario. I believe that's where he's from. Mississauga, defenseman for Michigan. Fantastic player, like absolutely fantastic. And then Matty Beniers will likely be the 2nd overall pick to Seattle. And then within the rest of the top 10, you're going to have Kent Johnson likely off the board within the top 10, another Wolverine. So you have 3 Wolverines taken there. And you can't forget about Luke Hughes, the brother of Quinn and Jack Hughes, who could also be a top 10 pick, possibly to New Jersey at, what are they, it's the 4th or 5th pick?
Yep.
4th, that he could be a 4th overall pick, or he could be 3rd. Who knows? But there's 4 Wolverines taken probably within the first 10 picks, which is absolutely incredible. And then all the guys in the USA under 18 program who have the potential to get drafted, are committed to schools like Wisconsin, Minnesota, Harvard. Like, this is huge for college hockey, that they're finally getting the exposure that they want, that they deserve, that these guys are going to get drafted, go play a year or 2 of high Division I caliber college hockey, and then kids are like, look, they're playing in the USA programs, they're playing in the Canada programs. We'll go play college and polish up our resume a little bit, have some fun with the boys, boom. And then after you're done with a year or 2 of college hockey, you go right into the league. It's great. It is great. College hockey is such a hidden gem. But the one part that's so tough about it, I'm going to go on for a slight tangent. Teams are getting added, but also teams are getting dropped. It's hard to find that consistency, because if teams just kept adding schools kept adding programs, that's great, but you're also losing them at the same rate. So it's kind of like a +3 and then a -3, and then you're back to square one again. So it's like the stability of college hockey is something that people need to keep an eye on, but the talent sure as heck is getting better.
Yeah, and absolutely. Like, my first time, like, the reason why I chose, Penn State was because of the hockey program, and, I haven't, it is just phenomenal. And let's talk about Owen Power, the unanimous number 1 overall pick. Disappointing that I didn't get to see him play in person. I still might, because he still might come play an extra year in Michigan. So if that would be the case, he would be the first number 1 pick since Eric Johnson not to play immediately. And whenever I watch him, I think of Victor Hedman, and I think everyone does. He may not be have like the career of Victor Hedman, but he plays like him. I put in my notes, a skilled, tell me if you agree with it, a skilled, smooth skating defenseman. He has great playmaking ability, his vision, and he's actually really good down low. You actually see him, like, if you watch some highlight packages, you see him down in the play a lot. So
he sticks his nose in there. Like, he doesn't do anything, particularly special. Like, he's not going to blow you away with everything or one specific thing. He does all the little things right. And that's what I noticed when I got to watch him in person this year. Covering the games, I watched him. I was like, this guy, there's something about him. It's like he doesn't do anything, particularly flashy, special. Old school blue collar player, you can tell. But also, the guy is 6'6". You can't teach that. You can't teach that. That's what I like to call DNA jackpot. That when you're as big and strong as Owen Power, you use it to your advantage. You create traffic down in front. He won't wow you in the points category, but the guy makes his presence felt. He keeps plays alive. He'll lay the boom on you too, and it sounds different when you hit him, but he's legit. Like, he is legit. And if Buffalo does not take him first overall, there's something seriously wrong, but I think they will. And, this is a guy that I think is going to be in the league for a long, long time.
Yeah, I think it did take him and the rest of the Wolverines a little bit to get going. Power had 3 goals, 13 assists, 16 points in his first season. So, and, Mel Pearson is a lucky guy to get, one of the best, the best recruiting class in college hockey this year. So now let's go to the other Wolverine. Chris, you're probably sick of hearing this.
Whatever.
Michigan. Yeah, Matty Beniers, he won the gold medal with the U.S. He is a very good skater with the puck. He has great speed. He's great north-south. He has a good shot, and he's a very dynamic player, and he's a good dynamic player. I was about to say two-way player, but I can't really confirm that, but he's a good, flashy player.
Oh, yeah. He has what you would call the name of this podcast, Silky Mitts. Like, everything about him. I love how he's one of those guys that, if he's out there on the ice and he's, bringing it, he just takes it into the offensive zone. He just keeps his head up the entire time. He's just like, yep, I'm going to sit here. I'm patient. He's like a point guard. He's like the point guard for the teams. It's like, he's just out there. He's like, he calms everything down. He's like, all right, I'm going to take my time out here. We're going to do all right. We're going to get something set up. And if nothing happens, I'll do it myself. And, everything about him is just so intriguing that he's still a raw talent. He's only 19 years old, too. That he still has a lot to learn, but you can tell that he catches on fast. That of all those young Wolverines guys that broke into the collegiate ranks this past year, Power, Beniers, Johnson, those guys, he was the one that caught on the fastest. And I'm like, he does a lot of things right. He's very intriguing. And I think he's only going to get better as time goes on. He's going to have a great year for Michigan this year, and he should be the second overall pick. But I like him a lot. Everything about him I like.
Yeah, and there was even a point where he might be there was even a debate where he might go number 1. So, yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot here. It might take you a bit because, whenever they do these draft profiles on TV, they always compare him to a current NHL player. Who does Matty Beniers remind you of? It's tough because, with Power, I think it's Hedman.
It's tough because I feel like he's a combination of a lot of different guys. That he's got oh man. I see a little bit of Landeskog in him, the quick decisiveness feature, because Landeskog's out there. He doesn't have the best shot, but he knows how to make plays. And I'd say definitely like a Landeskog with the playmaking ability and speed and, ability to just create opportunities. Oh man, I'm trying to think who else. It's so tough. I'd say
who's a center that has really quick strides, because that's how Beniers skates. That. It's tough because there's a lot of guys. You can't say Nathan McKinnon. You can't compare Beniers to McKinnon. That's way too high.
That's just unfair.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I really don't know. It's just like it. Mm, you're gonna make my brain short circuit now. Great.
I'll just look at, we'll see on the broadcast and if they do that and we're like, oh yeah.
We'll watch enough of it and then it's like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, now after number 2, it's anyone's game.
Oh,
any of these guys can go, even like after power, it's a complete wild card. So we'll go down. I only have a couple guys. One guy that I'm really excited for is Simon Edmondson. And the first player that comes to mind when I think of him, he has so much of Miro Heiskanen. Even though he's so young, they play so similar. They're both excellent skaters. They're great. They have great playmaking abilities. And they are so good on transition. There was a play in his highlight package where he was up in the play, Edmondson, he was up in the play, and then he quickly, when the other team was on the rush, he quickly got back. He defended a 2-on-1 beautifully. I see Miro Heiskanen and Simon Edmondson a lot, and I think he can go number 3. And I think if he goes to the Ducks, he's their number 1 defenseman easily.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I see where you're coming from there. And I'm looking at a USA Today mock draft that if Anaheim doesn't go the defensive route, they're looking at William Eklund, a left wing or a center. He's basically a Swiss Army knife. He could play literally anywhere. And, Eklund's, it's so, I think the best way to describe him is like, he's kind of in like a league of his own in the sense of what he can do, that like, he sees the ice so different. I watched a little bit of his highlight too. He sees the ice in a different way. You could just see it out there too, that the way that USA Today described is they described him as a creative playmaker who's been productive in Sweden's top league and is a bigger upside play. And he plays bigger than he actually is. And he just creates offense from next to nothing, that he'll make plays happen, that it won't, just like he does, like I said, a lot of these guys that are getting drafted top 5, they won't wow you with like one specific thing, but they all do the little things right that all create big things. That you have to do the little things right before you go, boom, big things. And that's what Eklund does. And honestly, Anaheim with Eklund or Edmondson, it's those California teams are going to have a good first round selection on their hands. We'll see.
And oh my God, their future is bright.
Oh, the Kings farm system is loaded.
And same with the Ducks too. So if adding a guy like Edmondson for the Ducks will just enhance that prospect pool. And it's top 2 in the league. I think the Kings have the best of, the Ducks are set on their rebuild. And you mentioned Eklund. I have a description of him. He's a very deceptive skater and is really good in tight. He will win you those puck battles.
And you blink, he'll blow right by you.
Yep.
Don't blink. That's the big thing. Don't blink.
Yeah. And, going down my list, the third player from Michigan, Kent Johnson. I thought he was a goal scorer because there was a time where he was leading Michigan in goals. But looking at him, Silky, mitts, and he scored an outstanding goal.
Or what? Can that dude make plays or what? Oh my God, he's like a wizard out there. It's unfair. He's like, he'll be at the point, he's just quarterback. He's just like, yep, watch this. Bing, bang. I'm like, yep, there it is. Great, awesome.
Yeah, he's versatile. They have him as a left wing and a center. It's honestly interesting where he would go because I remember they were saying Michigan could have 3. Those 3 could go top 5. Johnson, probably not so much. I think he'll still go top 10. I think any team could really benefit from him, especially if, they're weak down the middle, because center depth, as we know, is so critical in these days. If you don't have good center depth, you're not going to be a good team. I forget the draft order. I forget if where I had Johnson in my mock draft. I think I had him going 5.
Yeah. USA Today has him 9 going to Vancouver, which I think would be a home run guy. Because I think Johnson's also from BC. So that's kind of like the hometown thing. Let me just double check where he's from, Kent Johnson. Yeah, he's from North Vancouver. So that would be something. That would be something if he got drafted by Vancouver, 9th overall. You get to play for your hometown team. That'd be pretty cool.
Yep, and Luke Hughes, the third of the Hughes brothers. He's bigger than Quinn. He's a defenseman. He's a bit better defensively than his brother Quinn, but he's still a great skater. He's a very skilled offensive defenseman. He could get drafted by the Devils to play with his brother Jack. I don't see him going that high. I see him going more the 8 route because I think I had him going to the Sharks. If the Sharks get him, that's a win because they desperately need defense because of all those, Erik Karlsson hasn't been the same. Brent Burns hasn't been the same. Luke Hughes can be a very dynamic player for them. So any team really that's struggling on D could, use that kind of two-way game that he brings. And I was questioning whether people were overhyping him because, he plays, he's a third of the Hughes brothers. Oh my God, the Hughes, Quinn, Jack, so that's what I was questioning about. I don't think so anymore. So what are your thoughts on Luke Hughes?
I haven't seen enough of him just because it's a very limited sample size. But you can definitely see the upside is there. He plays with a mean edge a little bit too, which I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Because Quinn's more of the the player in basketball that just clamps down on you and just doesn't he won't hit you. Quinn won't hit you, but Luke will. So it's two different philosophies of defensive play. And also Luke is a bigger guy. I think he's pushing 6'3" or something like that. He's a bigger guy. So he'll throw his body around if need be, and he will. But I think if he just gets a little bit more weight on him, I think that's the biggest thing for him, that he's just got to bulk up. Not too much, nothing crazy, but the dude's very fast, and he sees the ice very well. I think he's just got to get a little bit bulkier. That's all he really needs to do. That just bulk up a little bit more, then you'd be really set.
All right, I got to ask you about you guys because I know he's probably your favorite. He fell off. He was expected to go top 5. Chris, tell me about Aatu Räty.
Woo! Aatu Räty, projected 23rd to the Detroit Red Wings in this USA Today.
Oh, who gave him that pick?
Oh, I don't know. Your team, Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what he does is he was once considered a potential number 1 overall pick. He's from Finland, played on the Finnish team in the World Juniors this year. I was hoping, because he's a center and the Rangers need massive center help, I was hoping that he would stay in that 15 range if they don't trade that pick, because Drury did say that they are open to trading it, moving either up or whatever. But what he does out there is just, you can tell where a hockey player is from just by their style of play, that those the Scandinavian countries like Sweden and Finland, they're so good. They have such high IQ. They skate so well because of the Olympic style ice they play on. They skate so well. They know the IQ is through the roof, that their skills are just so polished. And it's they basically want perfection. They're like, this needs to be done the right way. And Aatu Räty does everything the right way. He plays the game the right way. And everything, I drool over this guy just because of how good he is, that he knifes through defenders like a hot knife through butter. He just goes zoom, zoom, zoom. I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is great. I love watching this kid.
Yeah, and we haven't mentioned Dylan Guenther yet. We can talk about him. But first I want to mention the 2 goalies that had the potential to go in the first round. What is this? The first time since it's been a while since we've had two goalies go in the first round. Let's start with Jesper Wallstedt. This guy is so smooth with his movements. He's so athletically sound. He's 6'3". This year with in the Lulea, I'm sorry, he was 12-6-4, a 223 and a .907. He has the potential to be a legit elite number one goaltender, along with Sebastian Kosa. So I'm excited to see those two guys crack an NHL right. Goalies, it's a bit different because it's gonna take a year or two before they actually crack an NHL roster. What do you think of these two goalies? Who do you think goes first? Who do you think goes second?
I think Wallsted's going first. I mean, that's a dire goaltending situation in San Jose. Martin Jones, oh my God. That team needs help. Martin Jones is just not the answer whatsoever. I mean, he had some flashes, but the bad outweighs the good. And I just think they need help in the worst way possible in net. And if they can draft Wallsted at 7, let him sit in the minors for a little bit, maybe a year, maybe. Whatever Jones' contract situation, just ride that out, finish it. Then you get Wallsted into the equation, and your rebuild just gets enhanced that much more.
All right, and the last one before we close out here. I see Brent Clark's name. He might go to the Devils. Dylan Guenther was projected to be number 2. He's a very gifted. I think they described him as a goal scorer. He played 12 games with Edmonton in the WHL. He had 12 goals, 12 assists, 24 points. So the 12 games signifies, I think he did get inhibited by an injury and was out for a while, but this guy likes to shoot the puck, and he is a very, very gifted player and a good goal scorer, and he could be a sneaky steal.
Shoot it. Shoot the puck, Dylan Guenther. Shoot it. And that's all he does. Dude skates into the offensive zone and just says, you know what? Bang. That's all.
Guy Gadowski would love to have him on his.
Get Guy Gadowski on the phone right now and see if they can pull him out. But no, Dylan Guenther, man. I mean, this is just an electric goal scorer that the puck just flies off his stick. He can pick his spots and be like, oh, I got a screen in front. I see a little bit of bar in the corner. Yeah, I'm going for it. Like, he's a very high risk, high reward player, but it's just like, there are times where you're like, dude, you need to like calm down out there. Just like, you don't got to send a clapper up in the top corner every time you cross into the offensive zone, wait for opportunities to come. But if he gets hot and the puck's flying off his stick, Nelly, he is, and he joins the forward group in Ottawa, which also is a good farm system as well. They're getting better with that. Oh, man. Ottawa's got some bright days ahead of them also, and if they can snag Guenther at 10, makes it a heck of a lot better.
Yep, and, we talked, this draft class, it's not going to compare to the Connor McDavid class, the Austin Matthews class. It's a deep class. It's a very deep class, but it's not the most talented. That's what I like to say. It's not the most skillful, but you even said it's a level playing field.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's picks 1 and 2 are, I think, clear cut at this point. But then 3 on, it's anybody's ball game, like you mentioned earlier. Like they all bring something interesting to the table. That they're all great players, but they're all different types of players. Like one's an apple, one's an orange, one's a banana. You can't compare the 3, and you can't compare everybody, but they are all great in their own way. And I think that's something that we haven't seen in a draft class in a while. That everybody. It's anybody's ball game from 3 on because they're all great in their own ways. It's just a matter of what these GMs are thinking. It's like, okay, do we have a position of need, or are we just going to do, best available, or are we going to take a gamble on a guy that's a little bit lower because, we really like his upside? Who knows?
Who knows? And could have some trades tomorrow. I'm very excited for tomorrow. And with that, that's going to do it for this edition of the Silky Mitts podcast. Thank you, Chris, for subbing in. Hopefully we'll have the other guys come in. What do you think? Would you do this again sometimes if needed?
I mean, if you guys need some help, I'm always here. I'm always ready to talk some hockey. I love it. I want to do it. Let's keep doing it if you guys need a hand.
Let's keep it going. No, hold on. Just one. Oh, okay. Someone sent a tweet, and I just want to make sure that it's not anything important before we sign off. So for Chris Hess, I'm Jacob Cheris, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.